Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. We are with Allie Casazza. All in the name. It sounds so good. She is making motherhood simple and has an incredible podcast, The Purpose Podcast. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell us, how did you simplify motherhood? I mean, where did this journey begin for you?
So it was after I had my third baby. I have 4 now. But after I had my third baby, he's 7 now. So 7 years ago, I was in this place where everyone was kind of talking to me like, wow, like, you've got your hands full and it's so crazy. And it was really crazy, but I was actually really struggling with depression. And I had postpartum depression before with my first, and it wasn't that, it was like a situational thing. Like it was just heavy. And I just felt like I woke up every morning feeling like I didn't have enough energy to even do what lay ahead of me. And that is not abundant life. Like that's not what I feel like we're called to live here.
Wow, yeah.
And so I would kind of look around and like ask other women and other people that were ahead of me, like, what do you do for this? And it was just kind of like, you have 3 under 3, like you're insane, like good luck. And it was just this negative, like motherhood is a total crap show and you can't even remember the last time you showered and that's just how it is. And so I really, honestly, I kind of brought the issue to God and just asked for help. And I had this moment and this terrible day, long story short, where I just locked myself in the bathroom and sat on the floor and was like, what am I missing here? And I really felt like my attention was drawn to the fact that I was literally just maintaining stuff every day. And that I had these mundane parts of life, like, you gotta do the laundry, you gotta clean up, you gotta take the kids places. But those mundane things were taking over to where the core purpose that I'm here for was pushed to the back burner. And I saw this like shift that was not okay. And so I tilted it back on its head, and I just wondered like what would happen if I just didn't have so much stuff to maintain. And so minimalism was not a trend. This was like before, all the things. But so I didn't know it was called that. I just started pursuing it. And I had a blog, a little hobby blog at the time. So I was sharing it there. And I saw that as I went on this journey, women were just gravitating towards it and asking for more. And then I noticed like my home is simplified and I'm doing way less. Like my depression lifted and never came back. And I had all this freedom. And then I was like, what about my calendar and all these obligations and this lack of boundaries with people? Like, can I minimize all of that? So that's what I do. I'm kind of like a life minimalist. And I think everything can be put under the light of purpose and how can this be simpler? How can I align this with where I want to be when all is said and done? And things like, karate and baseball and dance and horse lessons and saying yes to this thing and being helpful for that person. It can't all be important. You have to choose. So minimalism in that light in life. That's what I do.
I love that.
Wow.
One of my favorite quotes is, the secret to doing something really great is making it very simple, right? It's
I love
just
that.
profound. Something you mentioned earlier I thought was poignant, and that was that you sort of discovered your core purpose. What is your core purpose?
I think that it is showing up for where I need to be in that moment. And I think that can shift. There are seasons where it's my business and the women of the world need my message. And so I'm kind of like, okay, family and extra things are less and business is more. And I love those seasons. But then sometimes it shifts and sometimes family is more and we'll take time off. We just took 2 months off and we went to Florida to visit friends and didn't work really at all. And now we're back and we're launching a new course and it's just busy. And so it's like, I think my purpose is to show up where what needs me right now and knowing that it doesn't have to be all of it at the same time.
So tell us about the new course, Unburdened.
Yes, Unburdened. So Unburdened is a couple years old, but it's new in the fact that it's been redone and I've added so much to it from what the women in my tribe have asked me to add. So Unburdened is, I have 2 courses. One is like home minimalism and, how to get rid of your clutter and deal with like the lifestyle shift of that. And just a lot comes with it. It's not just like, what should I keep? There's lifestyle stuff that happens and people get, why did you get rid of that thing I gave you and all that? But Unburdened is for your life. So it's like schedule and how do you decide what stays and what goes on your calendar when you feel super obligated and people are upset? How do you set healthy boundaries without feeling like a jerk, especially as a woman? That is how we're looked at, as like you're ruthless or you're not helpful enough. And I think especially in the Christian world and the world of what I do, it's like you're expected to just give until you're nothing. And that's ridiculous. That's not my calling at all. So making decisions, setting up rhythms instead of routines because routines are rigid and they don't stick for type B'ers. And so rhythms that just are habitual things you get done every morning, every night, and you can have the rest of the day to go live and be spontaneous.
Fantastic. Love that.
You're very, I don't know, I'm sure people tell you this. I hope people tell you this all the time, but very powerful. I mean, you start, from this place of children and depression and wanting answers and looking for the meaning in it, and you found it, and look at you. That's where it's at right there. Like, whew.
Thank you.
No, like really an honor to be sitting with you.
Thank you so much.
So what advice could you share maybe with the people who are finding themselves in that locked bathroom and they need to turn it around?
Yes.
What is step one?
I've gone back and forth on that because it's so much and it's so heavy, and I know that women, when they hear my story, they listen to what I say after that. But I really think, 7 years into living this, teaching it, turning it into programs, and watching all the women go through them alongside me, I really think it has to start at home. I really think that you can simplify your schedule and all of that, but what good is that if you're still just drowning when you get to your haven? It sucks. It's not where we're supposed to be. So I think if you can just start at home, there's something so beautiful and therapeutic about decluttering physical items, and it kind of teaches you subconsciously the lesson of making decisions about things and what you really need and what you thought you did, but you really don't.
But even before that, I think a little bit of what you were saying, for me as a sober woman 7 years ago, I had to pretty much get on my knees and say, I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
And give in to where you gave into our higher power, God, the universe, whatever that may be,
Right.
and said, I need help, guide me, and I'm listening.
Yeah.
I'm open.
And being open also to the idea that you do not need to do it all and be it all. And it's not about, having a business and a family and all those things, but rather the pressure, the boulder on your chest of like, you feel like you need to be there for everybody and say yes to all the things and all the stuff physically and calendarly.
It's too much
And mentally.
energetically.
Yeah, mentally for sure.
Could you maybe share with us a tip about a positive no? Because I'm a yes person. Boundaries are hard for me.
You mean
That's a
go F
struggle.
yourself as in a positive no?
Exactly. So I want you to draw that, and you don't want to disappoint somebody in your life. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I always just say, people, this is the great thing. When you start to do this, it's hard at first, but once you're that person, people don't expect you to say yes anymore. They expect you, they'll ask you still, but it gets less and less. So you're honestly like training people in your life, and it can sound a little heartless, but that's not how I mean it. I think that we do need to train people that like, I'm living on purpose, and I hope that inspires you to do the same thing. That's kind of how I look at it. But I'll say things like, love that idea, love that event. Oh my gosh, such a good idea. I think it's gonna help so many people. I would love to come and speak, but I just won't be able to. Please know that I will be happy to share a link or whatever it is. If there's something smaller I could do, I will say that, but I also don't do that all the time just because I feel bad. But if it's, honestly, if it's easy for me, I'll give a smaller yes.
That's a great
Love
tip.
that.
Thank you so much for your insight. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you.
Yeah, just alliecasazza.com, my site. You can kind of choose your own adventure and let me know how I can help you simplify.
Oh, I'm coming on.
Yeah. Choose your own adventure. That's
Good.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.